In the summer of 1942, these two tiny islands in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, west of Hawaii, were at the heart of an epic battle. Fought between the navies of Japan and the United States, it was a battle that decisively altered the course of the Second World War. Japan was intent on using its navy to expand its power in the Pacific, and it had an ambitious plan to destroy the main obstacle standing in its way, the Navy of the United States of America. The battle they fought marked the coming of age of a new type of warfare at sea. It was a duel to the death, in which aircraft carriers and their warplanes played the pivotal role. I'll be revealing how victory or defeat hung on the snap decisions of American and Japanese commanders. And I'll be exploring the tactics they used as they unleashed these new weapons of war.
The decisions made by the pilots and crews on both sides were also critical. I'll be revealing the terrifying risks they took as they fought and died out there in the vast reaches of the Pacific Ocean.
And I'll be experiencing some of the horrific conditions they endured in the heat of battle.
This titanic struggle was decided in 5 minutes of unimaginable destruction. 5 minutes that turned the balance of power in the Pacific upside down and transformed the rules of war at sea. It was the Battle of Midway.
The events that led to the Battle of Midway started here in 1941.
The island of Oahu, part of Hawaii, today America's 50th state and one of the world's most exotic holiday destinations. Back in the 1940s, US servicemen counted themselves lucky if they were posted here. In early December 1941, with only 15 shopping days left till Christmas, the people of Oahu were taking it easy. After all, the United States was at peace, not yet actively involved in the Second World War. But the world as the Americans knew it was about to change beyond all recognition.
Just 300 miles to the northwest of Oahu, a fleet of warships was bearing silently down on this island. America was about to be propelled into World War II. Heading unseen for the Hawaiian island of Oahu was the combined fleet of the Imperial Japanese Navy. This armada had departed from Japan in absolute secrecy and crossed 4,000 miles of the Pacific Ocean under total radio silence. They did not plan on being detected. This battle fleet was the most powerful naval force ever to put to sea. It had been sent to attack the United States by the hardline military government of Japan. The Japanese were set on building an empire in Asia and the Pacific, and were willing to use force to do it. By late 1941, Japan here was already in control of Korea and was engaged in a long war for control of China. It also set its sights on the European colonies of French Indochina, British Malaya, and the Dutch East Indies, roughly present-day Vietnam, Malaysia, and Indonesia. The Europeans were absorbed in a war against Germany, so the only thing standing between the Japanese and their vision of empire was the United States Navy, and in particular, America's main naval base in the center of the Pacific on the Hawaiian island of Oahu. The name of the base, Pearl Harbor. This is Pearl Harbor, one of the finest natural harbors in the world. Here it is on the map, on the south side of the island of Oahu, a narrow channel from the Pacific Ocean opening up into a huge sheltered anchorage. The harbor was the perfect haven for America's Pacific Fleet. By December 1941, it was busier than ever, with nearly 100 ships at anchor, 8 of them battleships moored up on Battleship Row, all of them engaged in the relaxed routines of a peacetime navy. But that peace was beginning to show signs of strain. The Americans were wary of Japanese expansion, and tensions were beginning to mount. In a show of strength, they had transferred more of their warships from the west coast of America out here to Pearl Harbor, to be 2,000 miles closer to Japan. And it was the massing U.S. Pacific Navy that the advancing Japanese strike force was intent on destroying. The approaching Japanese fleet included battleships, cruisers, and destroyers. But at the heart of this armada were 6 enormous aircraft carriers, floating airstrips packed with over 400 fighter, torpedo, and bomber aircraft. The world was about to witness the most spectacular example yet of a new form of warfare at sea. Japan may have been a country steeped in tradition, but when it came to naval warfare, it was one of the most advanced nations in the world. And the man at the forefront of all this was the Commander-in-Chief of the Imperial Japanese Navy, Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto. Yamamoto was a great visionary and modernizer. He was a pioneer of naval aviation and had been quick to grasp the potential of aircraft carriers, the latest weapon in the naval arsenal. Yamamoto could now use warplanes on these carriers to strike at targets hundreds of miles away from his fleet. By 1941, Japan had around 3 times more carriers in the Central Pacific than the Americans. Yamamoto had created a formidable carrier force capable of pursuing Japan's imperial ambitions. And by Sunday, the 7th of December, 1941, 6 of his aircraft carriers were in position, ready to mount a surprise attack on Pearl Harbor.
The Japanese were battle-hardened veterans. They'd been fighting to extend their Asian empire for years. The men on the aircraft carriers were at the peak of their skills.
Each of these Japanese aircraft carriers were crewed by up to 2,000 highly trained servicemen. Their job was to support squadrons of elite pilots who'd spent years in combat missions flying bomber and fighter aircraft. These naval aviators were among the best in the world. They'd never been defeated, and in the early hours of the 7th of December, they were only 2 hours flying time away from Pearl Harbor.
Every significant American installation on the island of Oahu would come under attack. The Japanese strike force would make a landfall on the island's northern tip, Kahuku Point. Here it is on the map case. Yamamoto planned to send in over 350 warplanes from his carriers in 2 waves. The first would veer off west, hugging the ground to achieve maximum